Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The International Trade Secretary Liam Fox says the unregulated free movement of people from the EU after Brexit wouldn't keep faith with the referendum result. He insists the Cabinet hasn't agreed a deal on immigration during any transitional period. Let's speak now to our political correspondent Chris Mason, who's at Westminster. Chris, so Liam Fox is suggesting there's no Cabinet unity on this. How significant are his comments then?
Clive, in 1 year and 8 months' time, we will leave the European Union, just over 600 days. Now, in the last couple of weeks, there has been a discussion among senior ministers about what they see as the good thing of signing up to some sort of transitional arrangement where, after Brexit, some elements of EU membership will still be attached to the UK. But crucially, this intervention from Liam Fox proves that exactly what that transitional period looks like is a source of disagreement, because the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, has suggested that lots of things would stay the same for quite some time. Liam Fox clearly has concerns about that. But it's not just the Conservatives who have disagreements over Brexit. You take a look at Labour and their leading lights, and they have been contradicting each other for month after month. Referenda, by their definition, are binary. They force people onto either sides of an argument. The two big political parties still very much divided, with that countdown, that clock ticking down to the 29th of March 2019, when we'll leave the European Union.
OK, Chris Mason at Westminster. Thanks, Chris.
Now, it might be small beer compared to the chaos of the US administration, but with Theresa May out of the country, tensions within her government over Brexit have spilt over. International Trade Secretary Liam Fox says there has been no cabinet deal on immigration post-Brexit, appearing to contradict Chancellor Philip Hammond's claim that free movement could continue virtually unchanged for up to 3 years after we leave.
I think what the British public wants to see on the first day after we leave is business pretty much as usual.
But Liam Fox told the Sunday Times in an interview conducted last Monday that the Cabinet had not at that point agreed a deal on immigration. We made it clear that control of our own borders was one of the elements we wanted in the referendum, and unregulated free movement would seem to me not to keep faith with that decision. Meanwhile, former Brexit Minister David Jones told the Mail on Sunday the Chancellor was going on manoeuvres while the Prime Minister was away on holiday, saying all this agitation by the Chancellor and his allies is hugely discourteous to her and undermines her authority.
Well, I'm joined now by the former Labour Cabinet Minister Lord Faulkner, who's urging Jeremy Corbyn to back membership of the single market, and from South West London by the Conservative MP Nadhim Zahawi. Nadhim Zahawi first. Liam Fox has let the cat out of the bag, hasn't he? I mean, there's no cabinet consensus on freedom of movement, is there?
Well, I think this story seems to be manufactured by some of your colleagues in the press. If you sort of take what happened last week, the Immigration Minister, Brandon Lewis, talked about us by March 2019 taking control of our borders. The Chancellor, Philip Hammond, the next day said that is exactly right. He backed the Immigration Minister to say that is what will happen because we will begin to register people who are coming from Europe into the United Kingdom. And so this idea that there is a divide amongst the cabinet, I think, is for the birds.
So,
now,
right, let me just clarify this.
For some of your colleagues, it's fun.
Let me just clarify this then. Are you then happy for 3 years after Brexit there will be freedom of movement with registration, as the Chancellor said? You're happy with that, are you?
Well, yes, I am. I tell you for why. Because, one, March 2019 means we take control of our borders. We begin to register people from Europe coming to the UK. You will need an implementation period. Everybody's agreed that you need that implementation period, whichever side of the arguments they were on in 2016 in the referendum. You need to be able to implement the processes that then effectively count people in, make sure that they're registered, and then, of course, implement the deal that we would have negotiated with the European Union.
Okay.
And beyond that. So there is no divide here, other than the one that's sort of, the press enjoy, providing because for whatever reason it makes good headlines.
That's come across loud and clear. But just to be absolutely clear, Boris Johnson also takes your view, does he? I mean, he's been quite quiet on this. You think he's happy with this 3-year transition, is he?
I think the whole cabinet is happy with knowing that March 2019 means we take back control of our borders, that we have an implementation period, because whether you are a Brexiteer or a Remainer, you know that you need the practical steps to be taken by the Home Office, by other departments to implement the deal that we then effectively agree with the European Union. And then there's the final settlement beyond that. That's what Amber Rudd's letter says. That is what Brandon Lewis has said. That's what the Chancellor said. And that's what I voted for Brexit also say.
Great. OK, Lord Faulkner, Nadhim Zahawi has been very clear there, but Labour is just as all over the place, isn't it, as the cabinet? Oh, well, let me just be clear with you then. Your leader has been very clear that he wants out of the single market. You're saying the opposite. How are you going to reconcile those two positions?
We're not saying the opposite. What our leader is saying, in effect, is that on the 19th of March, whatever date in March 2019 it is, you've got to formally leave the single market. The question is what terms of access you get to the single market. I think everybody now understands you've got to have a transitional period in which, in effect, you continue on the existing terms. Because
you're saying some sort of European Economic Area type deal, are you?
Exactly.
But then the leader has said not
No,
that.
he has not said that. He has said nothing is off the table. And what he means by saying we're going to be out of the single market by March 2019 is that formally we'll be out. But what are the terms of trade thereafter? On a transitional basis, there has to be some basis, and the EEA-type basis, which you've just referred to, is the obvious and most likely one.
So you don't think Jeremy Corbyn's a closet Brexiteer?
No, I do not. I do not think that at all. And indeed, I think the Labour Party as a whole is strongly in favour, not of rerunning the European Union referendum, but having a relationship that is as close as possible to preserve jobs and promote the economy.
Well, Nadhim Zahawi, this outbreak of unity that you're describing in the cabinet suggests that Theresa May is safe as Prime Minister and as leader until 2022, isn't she?
Of course she is. I think Theresa May is safe till 2022. Liam Fox has said that. Other cabinet members absolutely have said that as well, because I think the time has come for us to come together in the national interest to support the team that's negotiating the Brexit and to make sure we get a good Brexit for the United Kingdom. You don't do politics in a vacuum, Cathy. That is why I think it's right that whether it's Brandon Lewis, the Immigration Minister, or the Home Secretary, or the Chancellor, or any other member of the Cabinet should support the idea that we will, of course, come out in 2019, but of course we will control our borders and have an implementation period.
OK, well, to hear Nadhim speak, everything's going swimmingly. So, I mean, does that include the passage of the EU withdrawal bill through the Lords? How is that going to get through?
I think there'll be real problems about that in relation to all those Henry VIII powers that allow ministers to determine what the policy is. But the idea of all of the rights that workers have and beyond being implemented as part of English law, I think, is broadly supported.
So they've got a real fight on their hands?
On the Henry VIII powers, yes.
Lord Faulkner, Nadhim Zahawi, thank you very much for joining us.